If you've ever dealt with someone who thought they could get away with anything just because they yelled the loudest, this story will feel familiar. Before we start, tell me which country you're watching from, and remember to like and subscribe for more stories. The trouble started on a quiet morning when I stepped outside and saw tire marks across the end of my driveway. They weren't normal skid marks. They looked deliberate, like someone had floored their car with no concern for what they hit. My neighborhood's HOA was known for power trips, but nothing prepared me for what happened next. My Lamborghini sat parked beside the garage, covered, as always, clean and protected from the weather. I had owned it for years, saved for it, and kept it pristine. It wasn't just a car. It was one of the few hobbies I allowed myself after leaving a long military career behind. It represented peace, control, and starting a new chapter. That morning, though, the cover had been pulled halfway off. Something felt wrong. When I reached it, the shock hit me like a punch. The entire side of the car was keyed end to end, deep enough that metal showed through. The windshield had a spiderweb crack running across it, like someone had hit it with something heavy, and the back bumper was crushed in as if a larger vehicle had reversed straight into it. One look told me this wasn't an accident. It was destruction done by someone who felt untouchable. The same feeling echoed across the HOA every time people mentioned Karen, the board member who believed the entire block existed to serve her. She acted like she owned the streets, the sidewalks, and everyone's time. I stayed out of her way, but apparently that wasn't enough. Neighbors approached me to explain what they had seen. Late the night before, Karen had driven her oversized SUV around the block several times. She was known for scraping mailbox posts and claiming they were too close to the road. Someone finally admitted they saw her stop at my house, get out, look around, and then start smashing into the back of my Lamborghini. She walked around it afterward, inspecting her own damage like she expected the car to move out of her path. It was a deliberate attack. I stood there, steady and calm, even as the inside of me tightened. In my years of service, staying composed wasn't a choice, it was survival. I learned to observe, plan, and respond without letting anger cloud my mind. This situation was no different, even though the reckless destruction of something meaningful hit deeper than I expected. I informed the police, and they promised to send someone out. But before they arrived, Karen marched down the street like she was the one filing a complaint. She pointed at my crushed bumper and acted as though it inconvenienced her. She accused me of parking too close to the road, too close to her house, too close to everything. In her mind, my car existed only to make her life difficult. She had no idea who she was dealing with. People assume a calm man is a weak man. They assume that quiet means harmless. But quiet often just means calculating, patient, and ready to move when the time is right. By the time the police arrived, Karen was already spinning a story about how my car lunged at her SUV, as if the Lamborghini had a mind of its own. The officers listened politely, but the neighbors who had witnessed everything had already stepped forward. They explained what they saw in clear detail. They described her circling the block, inspecting my property, and then ramming into the car. They mentioned hearing the glass shatter and her shouting something about out-of-neighborhood show-offs. The officers turned from the neighbors to her, and I could see the shift in their posture. They were no longer hearing a complaint. They were hearing a confession wrapped in excuses. The calmness in my voice surprised them, and I watched it click in their heads that I wasn't an ordinary victim. My military background wasn't something I advertised, but it shaped how I handled chaos. I gave them the facts, every detail, every observation. They took notes with a level of respect Karen never earned from them. The police told her they needed to inspect her SUV for paint transfer. Her face changed. She backed up, muttering something about harassment, but the officers were firm. The damage lined up perfectly. Her vehicle had pieces of my car embedded in her bumper. The windshield crack on my Lamborghini matched the angle of damage to her tailgate, like she had climbed onto it and smashed it downward. Suddenly, Karen realized she wasn't in control. The HOA board members started to gather. They tried to defend her, claim she was under stress, claim I must have provoked her somehow simply by owning a nice car. They tried to twist it into a community issue instead of a clear crime. I'd seen tactics like this overseas: distraction, denial, pressure. But it never worked on me then, and it wasn't going to work now. The officers informed everyone that vandalism and property destruction at this level were felonies. Karen would be facing charges, and her car would be impounded. When they placed her in cuffs, she stared at me with the mixture of fear and disbelief, like she finally understood she had crossed a line she couldn't talk her way out of. The HOA panicked. They tried to distance themselves from her, but the neighbors weren't done. They told the officers about her pattern of harassment, her threats, her reckless behavior, the damage she'd caused to other properties. They took notes. A report began to grow thicker by the minute. Over the next few days, everything unraveled for her. The HOA held an emergency meeting where she was voted out. Insurance assessed the damage to my car and confirmed it would cost nearly the full value of the Lamborghini to restore. Her policy refused to cover intentional destruction. The financial weight shifted squarely onto her shoulders. I spent my days quietly repairing what she broke and making sure the neighborhood understood the truth. I never raised my voice. I never acted out of anger. I simply let the facts, the witnesses, and the law do the work. And through all of it, Karen's biggest mistake wasn't hitting the car. It was assuming I would react like an easy target. She never imagined the quiet guy at the end of the street had faced far worse than an angry homeowner with a grudge. She never imagined the calm, steady posture came from a place built in deserts, jungles, and war zones. She picked the wrong person to provoke. Remember to like and subscribe for more stories, and let me know which country you're watching from.